Why is porta feminine in Italian and telefono masculine? Boh. What is noun gender? Are you confused by the whole idea of gender in Italian? How can a noun have gender? What does it all mean? Ciao, I'm Manu Venditti, the founder of Italy Made Easy, where we specialize in helping people like you successfully learn Italian. You can find out more at italymadeeasy.com, but now let's begin. Cominciamo. If you're a beginner of Italian, then noun gender is one of the first topics that you're going to come across, and it can seem very confusing at first, especially if you're an English speaker. Gender is a super important part of the Italian language that you simply cannot escape. It runs through the entire language, and it's very, very important that you understand what it is and how it all works, and I'm going to help you with that. First things first, when we talk about noun gender in Italian, this has nothing to do with whether things are male or female. Nothing of that sort. So what's it all about, Manu? Well, the answer actually isn't that exciting. It's got to do with grammar. So when we talk about noun gender in languages like Italian, we are talking about a grammatical concept, not a biological or psychological concept. Grammatical gender, simply put, is, or rather was, a way of classifying nouns into categories based on their grammatical behavior. I'll explain the idea of grammatical behavior later in the video, so don't worry if it all sounds still a little confusing right now. It'll make sense by the end of the video. Now, interestingly, the original meaning of gender when it first entered the English language from French was exactly that. It meant category, kind or class, with no specific connotations or relation to humans or human gender. In fact, the word noun gender in Italian is genere, same as French, which means category or type. In Italian, we'll say things like che genere di musica ascolti? What genre of music do you listen to? It's that kind of genre, not gender. So just to reiterate, noun gender is about grammatical categories, not about the English concept of gender as in relation to humans. Actually, many of the world's languages have noun gender. German and many European languages have 3 genders. Some Australian and African languages even have 5 or more genders. English used to have noun gender, but it got ditched during the Middle English period. Wouldn't things be much easier for you if English had kept it? But you know, we're working with what we're working, so anyway. Italian, on the other hand, kept it relatively simple, all things considered, with just 2 noun genders, masculine and feminine. Now, don't let the terms fool you. The categorization of nouns as either masculine or feminine has, once again, nothing to do with whether a thing has a manly feature or a girly appearance. For example, what's feminine about a door, porta, or what's masculine about a flower, fiore? Is the sun, il sole, stereotypically masculine, and the moon, la luna, obviously feminine? Of course not. Sometimes English speakers tend to think that noun gender might have to do with the person who uses the item mostly. So for example, I've heard theories of a hammer, martello, being masculine in Italian because stereotypically it's men who use hammers. Or flowers being feminine, which they're not, it's actually masculine, but English speakers might tend to think that fiore should be feminine because typically women receive flowers or anything like that. Now, if you try to make connections like this, you will probably be complicating things for yourself, as there really isn't any clear reason why some nouns are masculine and others are feminine. They just are. So when it comes to Italian nouns, then, how do you know if a noun is masculine or feminine? Let's look at them separately. It's actually a lot easier than you might think, while it might still remain complex at the end. Let's say, masculine nouns, as a general rule, are nouns that end in O, like the O sound, the O vowel. Libro is book. Tavolo, table. Giorno, day. Lavoro, work. numero, number. These are all examples of masculine words in Italian. Now, there are cases that will confuse you where the noun gender of a word does match the biological gender of the living being that the word is being referred to, typically humans. So nouns that refer to males are also masculine in gender. So ragazzo, boy, bambino, young baby, male baby, uomo, man. But this is just a coincidence, and we shouldn't think of a masculine noun having anything to do with the masculine gender. Like I said, it's just a group, it's a type of word. Unfortunately, they picked masculine and feminine as words to describe these, but yeah, that's what it is. Now, looking at feminine nouns, as a general rule, feminine nouns end in A, the A vowel. So casa, house, bottiglia, bottle, Italia, Italy, mela, apple, parola, word. These are all feminine nouns. As we saw for masculine nouns, words for biological females are also feminine nouns. So we have words like ragazza, girl, bambina, baby girl, donna, woman. Again, just a coincidence. Now, while the general rule about nouns ending in o or a will help you get it right most of the time, be aware that there are some nouns that end in o but are feminine, or nouns that end in a but are masculine. But that's just a small group and it shouldn't be a huge problem to you. Also, there are a lot of nouns in Italian that end in e, the e vowel. Both masculine and feminine nouns can end in the e sound, and these are the trickier ones because you can't just look at them and assume that they are masculine or feminine, because the e ending can work for either one. Keep in mind that one noun has its own gender and it will not change. So a word like cane, il cane, the dog, it happens to be masculine. It ends in e, but it's masculine. We have another word like la chiave, key, which is feminine. They both end in e, one is masculine, one is feminine. They're not going to switch genders, but don't freak out just yet. For many of these rule-breaking nouns, there are actually easy to remember patterns to know their gender, or ways to figure it out based on the law of probability. The more Italian words you know, the more you will see these patterns. We address that type of nouns in other videos here on our channel. For now, let's go with the O and I ending rule, which is the best way to start with and to guess mostly right most of the time. So you might be wondering, why is gender even important when I'm learning Italian? As I mentioned at the beginning of this video, gender in Italian is really important because so much of the language is impacted by noun gender. Remember when I said that gender was about categorizing nouns based on the grammatical behavior? Well, without getting too much into the details of this, the gender of a noun affects all the words around it that refer back to it. In other words, masculine and feminine nouns behave in a certain way grammatically. They tell all the other words that refer to it, I'm masculine, you need to be masculine, or I'm feminine, you need to be feminine too. This concept is called agreement, and it's when nouns make words agree with their gender. The types of words that have to agree with the noun that they're referring to are articles, adjectives, past participles, that's kind of complex, but when you speak in the past tense, basically. So let's look at some examples so that you get an idea of what I'm talking about. In Italian, we'll say, il tavolo è alto e bianco. L'ho visto ieri. Il tavolo è alto e bianco. L'ho visto ieri. Let's look at this sentence and see what is happening here. So the meaning of the sentence is the table is tall and white. I saw it yesterday. The noun tavolo is masculine. This is the star of the sentence, the king of the sentence, let's say. How do we know it's masculine? Well, we kind of can guess by the ending of the word being tavolo with an O at the end. And so once we know that that word behaves masculinely, or as a masculine word grammatically speaking, we can see how everything else reflects that masculinity. Look at what it did to the other words that refer back to tavolo. It makes all of them be masculine. Now, If you don't know enough Italian, you will not know that il before tavolo is the masculine way of saying the. So even that the is reflecting the fact that tavolo is masculine. But then all the other words are ending in o because they need to be masculine as well, because we're talking about the king, il tavolo. If you replace the word tavolo with any other masculine noun, even one that didn't end in o, like cane, for example, it would still behave the exact same way and the sentence would be pretty much the same. So I would say, il cane è alto e bianco, l'ho visto ieri. So the dog is tall and white, and I saw it yesterday. Again, we know it's a masculine noun because it has a masculine effect on the words that refer to it. If we were to take the same sentence and use a feminine noun like casa, we would hear the following statement. La casa è alta e bianca, l'ho vista ieri. The house is tall and white, I saw it yesterday. Here we have a feminine noun, casa, so we know it's feminine because it ends in a, we can assume it's feminine, and it behaves in a feminine way because of the effect that it has on the other words that refer to it. It makes them all end in a, or most of them if we were using other adjectives. So if we took a feminine noun like that ended in e, for example, like la lavatrice, the washing machine, the sentence would be just the same. La lavatrice è alta e bianca, l'ho vista ieri. So the washing machine is tall and white, I saw it yesterday. Sorry for the silly examples, but they're just here to give you an idea of what I'm talking about. All of this is to show you what noun gender really means and how it works in Italian. Another reason why it's important to know the gender of nouns is because there are a lot of examples in Italian of words that differ only in gender but have a completely different meaning. That is, different words that differ only in their final vowel, either o or a. For example, porto, masculine word, il porto, the port, the harbor. And then we have porta. So we go from porto, port, porta, door. One is masculine, so we'll say il porto bello, the beautiful port, la porta bella, the beautiful door. As you can see, everything is masculine or feminine. Caso, casa, il caso, the case, la casa, the house. Il modo, la moda, so modo, moda. Modo means way, as in how you do things, and moda is fashion, the way you dress. Il modo, la moda. This means that by accidentally getting the gender of a noun wrong, you can completely change the meaning of a sentence and end up saying what you didn't mean. Beyond just the o and a ending rule for remembering which nouns are masculine and feminines, we really recommend learning a noun with its correct gendered article, as it will help you remember the noun gender even more. So that's why when I was giving you the example of Porto, I said il Porto. It's a lot easier for you to learn the word for port, for harbor, by using the article as well, because il Porto confirms your theory that Porto should be a masculine word because it ends with o. If you don't just learn cane, meaning dog, because then you think, oh, cane, what gender was that? Just learn il cane. Il cane is the dog, but il is the article that means the, that is only for masculine words, and you will learn that if you learn Italian with us at italimedisi.com.